ba-doo. Okay. I think we're actually live with this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very exciting because I usually screw up all of the tech things that I try to do, especially when they're for the first time, particularly when I am doing them, I don't know, with systems. You know, I've got OBS here, I've got YouTube Studio here, I have various other things going on here. What we are going to be doing is, I don't know, oh, yes, we even have somebody here. Great. Hi. Way to be the first viewer in, well, for the future of these Science is Weird, Egan and ChatGPT things that we do. Okay, cool. We are embarked, as Pascal said in his Pensées. What is about to happen is we are going to engage in a 45-minute long quest to see whether we can take some really dull topic and geography, and we can use ChatGPT and only ChatGPT, but enlivened with the tools of Kieran Egan, to turn this thing in this boring topic into something that is awesome. Something that is emotionally grabby, something that teaches you more in depth about the topic than you've, I don't know, ever would have learned before, and you learned in any kind of ordinary 45 minutes of your life. And that connects that topic to life, the universe, and everything. So here's what I need you to do in the chat window. Where do I have the chat window? Do I even see the, there we go. Very good. Go ahead and throw it into the live chat right now. I want topics having to do with geography, boring topics having to do with geography. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use ChatGPT. You can see ChatGPT here is, first of all, I have a bunch of things about the history of dueling because I was teaching our Calvin on Hobbes class. But now I'm going to do a new thing for here, just to give us some ideas of topics, boring topics, that we could talk about with geography. Please act as an educational consultant who specializes in things that are unspeakably dull, and yet are part of the kindergarten through 12th grade curriculum. Please give me a list, no explanation is necessary, of boring topics in geography. Emphasize the most boring possible topics in geography. All right, I'm going to turn this from ChatGPT Mini to 4auth because it'll be faster for us. Okay, so we can get just as a sense of these really boring topics. Oh my gosh, these are so boring. Or are they? I love and appreciate that we are seeing a bunch of these things already. People, thank you very much. Why is it useful to memorize state capitals? Hiking a really large number of miles, the Sargasso Sea. Boo to you! There is nothing boring about the Sargasso Sea. Maybe if you were stuck in it by accident. Eels! Eels, I say. Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about eels in the Sargasso Sea? Kieran Egan actually used eels as an example of something that looks boring from the outside, but it's unspeakably interesting the more that you need to know it. Here, take a look at, just a second. Please limit these to what you believe to be the 5 most boring of these options. I'm going to do that, and then we can vote on these, but also we can add in any of the ones that you guys are suggesting for this. We will vote in a minute for this. Okay, great. Oh man, types of map projections, layers of the atmosphere. I'm going to nix that. That's not really geography. That's meteorology. Types of soil. It's not really geography. Geographical grid systems, that is census data interpretation. Is that geography? That's demography. I'm going to take from these just the geographical grid systems. What does that even mean? And types of map predictions, and then anything else that you guys are doing. Anything else here? Formations of deltas, kind of. Population density, types of soil, regional climate zones would be one. Oh, and time zones! Evil, stinking, rotten time zones. And longitude here. Let me do a bespoke sort of sampling of these. Could you make me up a new list with the following items? Number 1, the longitude and latitude lines, and then the types of map projections, time zones, regional climate zones, Population density calculations. And that is all. I like slurred these words together, and yet it does a great job of it. It's freakishly good. Okay, these will be your 5. I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this. I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this. No, hold on. While I do this, please please vote on which of those that you most. Any other ones we want to do? Erosion. We could do erosion is not a geography. I mean, it's kind of. I don't know. It's borderline. Erosion is so interesting. Why is it useful to memorize state capitals? Hi, Christine. I'm going to say that is more of an educational topic than a geography topic. I mean, we could say state capitals, but that's a list of things. No, it's not. We could treat that as a concept. We could treat state capitals as a concept. We could do that. We're good enough for that. Time zones sucks. Time zones are the flipping worst. I would vote for Satan himself if he could make a credible plan to say that time zones, that he could get rid of time zones. I mean, we'd lose the earth, but at least before we went out, we would get rid of time zones. Time zones. Hills and why they form. I'm just going to say, Strobeck, that we have an entire Science is Weird class called Hills Are Weird, where we talk about erosion and why hills form. So I'm not going to allow myself to do that. Hi, I'm going to give a little 5-minute song and dance for talking about like, hi, here's where I am and here's where I'm coming. My name is Brandon. Many of you know me from the fact that my name is Brandon. I'm like a teacher for you or something like that. I'm the founder of Science is Weird. Before I founded Science is Weird, I was on this, decade-long quest to figure out what the heck should education be like? And I went between all of these different types of education. Montessori and Waldorf and classical schooling and unschooling and Charlotte. I didn't find out about Charlotte Mason until afterwards. A bunch of other things too. Constructivism. And I kept loving all of these things, but finding out that they're very limited until I found out this random guy named Kieran Egan. Kieran Egan. Oops, just a second. I have the wrong thing up right here. You'll see this in just a second. But where did I put it? Here it is. Kieran Egan, professor of education at Simon Fraser University outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, who had, I'm going to say this sounds insane, I think he had figured out education far deeper than anybody else ever has. He was the person who was able to capture the lightning of why education is so amazing when it is so amazing, this thing that we've all experienced before but we find impossible to bottle. He was the person who bottled it. So often we have these topics that we just feel are boring. And it is such a difficult work in school, whether one is progressivist or as a constructivist or as a traditionalist or as a classicist or whatever. Classicists, that's not a word. How do you make the thing not boring so that people actually want to learn it and then find it meaningful? Not just like, it's fun now, but like, this is an important thing that people feel that charge. Egan cracked it. He freaking cracked it. I have, devoted my life to helping bring his plan to reality. A number of us have. I'm not the first, and by gum, I won't be the last. And then ChatGPT came out. Now we have these AI chatbots. The downside, one of the difficulties of using Egan, using his method, is that he says that in order to really make something, intellectually alive, you really need to know a lot about it. It's not enough to just go into a classroom or something and kind of wing it and say, maybe the kids will make this come alive. Every once in a while that happens, and it's a really fun thing when it does. But typically, it doesn't. And you can't count on it. Egan's idea is that you can make it really likely that you will set people's minds on fire when you understand something a lot, and then that you use the lost tools of learning. My phrase, not his. Actually, somebody else's phrase. Dorothy Sayers, Father Brown Mystery, person who reinvented classical education. Her phrase, but really is describing his thing better than anything else. You use our desire for imitation and emotions and our senses and our predilection to get into fights and humor and stories and metaphors and vivid mental images and jokes and riddles and extremes and gossip and heroes and idealism and all of these things that you are seeing, and you bring them together. I'm sorry, I was blocking some of these, wasn't I? How rude. You bring these things together and you see what will make the topic come alive. Okay, so let us now go ahead and vote on this. Did I make this drawing? Yes, I did, sort of. This is for my my book review of Egan, which you can find on my Substack, losttools.substack.com. You go up to the top and click on book review. You will go and go to the book review, and you get some links to this. And you can here. So I did this, and I won this really big book review last year. It's like the coolest thing I've ever done. I mean, I'm supposed to say my kids. Sure. It's my kids. Let's just stay at that. Where I took Egan's ideas and I tried to simplify them so that anybody could understand them. It takes a really long time. Right now I'm writing a book about how Egan can reinvent homeschooling. Anyway, subscribe to my Substack if you were interested in learning out more about this, where I kind of build this up in the end and whatever. Anyway, this is I switch the colors of this. Okay, great. I think that's been enough time. So here, what's going to happen is we're going to pick one of these topics right now. That's what's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And number 6 will be state capitals. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Go ahead and write down number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or number 6. Just one vote per person, and I will take the one that looks to be the winner. And here I'm forgetting that actually there's something like a 10-second lag when we do YouTube Live. See, because it's my first time. And I should probably give it extra 10 seconds for this. Oh, wow. Whoa. That is not what I had foreseen. Okay. So we are getting overwhelmingly 3s. Hey, Shay, who picks 1. Shay 1 is actually pretty cool, so we can talk about time zones at some point in the future. Okay, it's going to be time zones. Time zones literally have more than half the votes of these 6. Okay, so now the timer. See that? I mean, that 45 minutes has begun. By the top of this hour, you will have understood this topic such that you have learned so much more than you usually learn, and it will have hooked your emotions so much more than your emotions have ever been hooked with time zones before, and we have connected time zones to life, the universe, and everything. All we have to do, the only tools that I have are Egan's tools and ChatGPT. Okay, so I first will start, as I usually start with this. When I'm doing a Science is Weird lesson, I usually start with something like this. And I say, okay, which of these seems to be the best ones for us actually doing this? For me, taking time zones. Okay, so, I already know quite a bit about time zones. I mean, something at least about time zones, right? Actually, let me do. I want to use this, and I want to use this, and I want to use this, and I want to use maybe this. Okay, great, wonderful. Okay, so time zone senses are not going to be helpful. Imitation is probably not going to be helpful. Emotions, just like lean into the hate, right? Embrace your hate is going to be something here. Humor, I don't know. I feel like there's at least some incongruities that are possible in talking about time zones and fights. I suspect that there were historical fights behind the people who came up with the time zones. And I mean, I don't know, now me with the time zones. I'm interested in the stories, the origin stories of the time zones. I don't know if there's any metaphors here, so I'm not going to focus on that. Images, I do think there actually is at least one image that I might be able to think about for this. Usually we don't do images. Images in Egan does not mean pretty pictures. It means vivid mental images, like close your eyes and imagine something. And now imagine that what you were imagining, went meta there. Now imagine that what you were imagining is so vivid that it burns itself in your mind for the rest of your life. That's what we're talking about with images. I actually am interested in maybe that. Jokes, no. Riddles, no. Maybe. Like, what would happen if we got rid of them? Maybe there's something like that there. Why is there a blank space here? What's wrong with me? This is not an exhaustive list of Egan's tools. Extremes. I actually am interested in some extremes. I have an idea there. Gossip, nah. Heroes, I'm going to interpret that to mean also villains. Idealism, yeah. I suspect that time zones, like most terrible ideas, were invented, out of a misguided attempt to make the world a better place. I don't think the definitions in the literal sense of like the lines that define the time zones, I think that hooks up with extremes. General schemes, I am very interested in general schemes with this. Yes. Experiments, no. Certainty, no. Ambiguity, maybe. Metaskepticism, maybe. Balance, lightness. I feel there's a lot of irony in this, but I'm not entirely sure. Okay, good. That's just what I did. Look for these things now as we go about doing this. Okay, let's start with this. I'm going to start by trying to get a basic understanding of what is going on with time zones. I think I'm going to start with the origin story for that. So I'm actually going to do a new one of these, and I'm going to check and see. Yeah, 4.0 is pretty good for this. Okay. 3, 2, 1, contact. Act as a popular historian. Very briefly, tell me, what is the story of time zones? What is their origin? And what is the story of their... Actually, screw that. I just wanted the origin of the time zones. Tell me the history of what led up to the choice to start with time zones, and what people were trying to do. Time zones arose from a need to coordinate schedules across vast distances in the 1800s, especially for railroads. I had forgotten that. Before this, each town set its own time based on local solar noon, leading to confusing, inconsistent times across regions. I suspect that this is then going to be part of a general scheme, right? We want like one general scheme to make sense of like what will the time be over here. The rapid expansion of railroads in the U.S. and other countries made synchronized timekeeping crucial to avoid collisions. Holy crap! People will die! And improve logistics. To solve this is a real person. Sir Sanford Fleming? That sounds fake. A Canadian engineer proposed dividing the Earth into 24 standard time zones, each 1 hour apart. The concept was adopted in 1884 at the International Meridian Conference. I'm sorry, I should have actually spat at that phrase. Where Greenwich, I think we pronounce it Greenwich, England was chosen as the prime meridian. What does that mean, meridian? This standardized time system helped unify commerce, travel, and communication globally, laying the groundwork for the time zones we use today. First, I want to check to see if this is a real person with this. Could you double check that Sir Sanford Fleming was a real person? Give me some details about his life, and most importantly, give me some references to him. I'm skeptical. Real person, Scotland. Truly, something this evil could only come from Scotland. First the Loch Ness Monster, and now this. He immigrated to Canada as a young man and became a prominent engineer and surveyor. He's best known for pioneering time zones and his work in Canadian railway development. He was the blah, 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 blah. His frustration, he was the chief engineer for the Canadian Pacific Railway and designed Canada's first transcontinental railway route. That's kind of cool. His frustrations with inconsistent timekeeping during time travel led him to propose a global system of time zones. In 1879, Fleming presented, I feel so stupid. I don't hate time zones. I mean, I kind of hate time zones. I hate leap day, not leap day. Leap day? You leap forward. What's the phrase called? We just passed one It's not a leap. The thing where the time changes. It goes an hour forward or backwards. Wow, a lot of people know a lot about him. How do people know this? That's really weird. Huh. It's a college named after him. That's kind of neat. The thing that I hate is that thing where we daylight savings time. There, that kind of crap. But we're doing time zones. Okay. Sorry, I need to actually reevaluate what my basic emotional connection is to this, because I thought that I had hated this. But now I realize that I just find them frustrating. I find them frustrating. And what I'm doing here, just to kind of back up on this, right? I want to grow this knowledge that I'm going to gain on my own emotions. Do you know that emotions are 500 million years old? I'm just finishing up a book right now, Brief History of Intelligence, that talks about the evolution of the human mind from about 500 million years ago to now. In the Cambrian era, we think the first emotions arose. And so, understanding needs to be built on emotions. So my emotions to this are, I find them finicky. I find them irritating when I have to talk to, Alessandro, my Egan brilliant friend who is in Italy. I have to remember, okay, Italy is 7 hours. I'm not even sure it's 7 hours, ahead of this, of where I am in Central Time in the United States. Whenever like I said, the date and the time for this event right now, right, I had to give it an Eastern and Pacific. My brain wants to fill in Eastern and Central, because I grew up hearing this news thing will come on blank o'clock Eastern, blank o'clock Central. Okay, so I need to break myself of that habit and talk about Pacific instead, just because that's the decision our Science is Weird has decided to go with this. Okay, so I find them finicky. I find them irritating. I find them a bad thing. But I do understand their utility, because it would be dumb if here's what we should do. Let's imagine a world without time zones. Wow, it's pretty dumb before when I was talking about the wrong thing. Okay. Let's imagine a world without time zones. Get super duper creative. I want you to imagine a world where international time zones are actively forbidden. Imagine what happens in the days and weeks after time zones are destroyed. In a world where time zones, I think I dialed that one up too much. In a world, or subdued, where time zones are suddenly abolished, chaos would ripple across every facet of life. Such a ChatGPT sentence. From the intimate rhythms of daily routines, the sprawling coordination of global industries. That's interesting. I don't quite understand this being disrupted. The sprawling coordination of global industries does make sense to me. Imagine day one, every clock on Earth is synchronized to the exact same hour. Noon in New York is noon in Tokyo and Mumbai and Buenos Aires. At first, there's an eerie thrill, a sense of novelty. But by nightfall, confusion sets in. What does that mean? They're synchronized the exact same hour. So it's every clock in the world is set to noon? Or is it that they're going to local time? I'm confused. We'll keep reading this. The first to feel the impact would be international businesses. Traders in Shanghai are now conducting business during noon in pitch black night. That makes sense. While London's financial hub grapples with the absurdity of a 3 a.m. stock market opening. Coordinating, I wonder if the time zones of that are right. Well, I remember when ChatGPT was newer, it was that version 3.5. I would find that one of the things that would constantly stump it was time zones. I think it's good now at that, though. Coordinating phone calls, flights, and meetings feels impossible. Travelers wander airports bewildered by flight boards that defy local logic, while executives fumble to conduct meetings at unpredictable hours. But they're not unpredictable. This is wrong, right? Some forced to hold video calls under artificial lights. It used to be local sunrise or sunset. As if people don't use artificial lights these days. By week 1, people start adopting personalized time systems. Okay, so I feel like this is a weird place to start with, like, let's all say that it's noon right now. Never even said, like, whose noon we're doing, right? Noon defined as the sun going overhead. But okay, whatever. So that would be nonsense. So you can imagine that breaking down. Immediately, people start adopting personalized time systems in a futile attempt to regain normalcy. Cities and corporations establish their own company hours or local time protocols. That's so interesting because the company, like, if the workday begins at a certain time, like they have to have their clocks set to the certain time so like everybody can start at the same time, right? The meeting starts at like 9 a.m. sharp. Well, it has to be everybody's same 9 or whatever a.m. That is fascinating. Huh. And that's going to be different maybe than the towns one. Although maybe they just take the towns. But what town? Let's imagine for a second that like here's a big Minneapolis, St. Paul is kind of one town. Imagine that you are halfway between two cities that are kind of east-west of each other. Well, okay, big city A and big city B. Like it's a half an hour this way, it's a half an hour that way, right? What in your company in the middle, you might want to use this one, or you might want to use this one, or you might want to use your own, but you have to pick something. And now you have people driving in from this way and from this way. And they say, okay, like we start at blank time. I need to get to work by 9 o'clock sharp. It's 9 o'clock, the company time. Right now, I live over here. So the sun is, comes over us first and then it comes over here. So actually, like if I try to get there by 9 o'clock my time, I'll actually be a bit early. That'll be fine, maybe. But this person's thinking, oh, if I come over here, like I'll be late. I have to come extra early. Oh man, if you commute to work, what that would mean would be that you would actually have to think about what direction you were driving, to the east, to the west, in order to figure out what the time would be at the time that you get there. That's super weird. I don't like that at all. Huh. Feel free to throw any questions in that you have about time zones, and I'll try to answer them too as a part of this. But where I'm at right now is recognizing that I am sure glad that we have time zones. Seems dumb that we didn't before. Anarchy. Make it draw. Ooh, we can try to make it draw. I like that idea. I've lived above the Arctic Circle, 22-hour days or nights. You get used to it. The most striking change. Oh, I'm sorry. By week 1, people start adopting personalized time systems. Company hours here. A frantic demand for apps that calculate pseudo-local time zone spikes. That's so wise. And neighborhoods find themselves redefining daily routines. That part still feels weird to me. Families struggle to synchronize meals. That makes sense. School drop-offs. Oh my gosh! There'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm not reading this. I'm showing, I'm talking to you, but I'm actually not reading this. Am I? Families struggle to synchronize meals, school drop-offs, and bedtime. Now that one person's 8 a.m. might feel like another's midnight. No, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Right, because you don't live across 4 time zones right now. No family lives across 4 time zones. Someone in the comments is going to suggest a family that actually does that. And okay, fine, I'll concur probably. But most families do not actually do that. But like there is going to be the difference of a few minutes. And if you at least like, I don't know, you have to drive an hour or something like that. Planets turning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. So you'd have to go 1,000 miles to get a whole hour across from each other, an hour apart. So if you go just 50 miles an hour, that means that an hour's drive, you might go 5 minutes. That's not so big of a deal though, is it? Sorry, is what I'm saying make sense to you? If you drive an hour east and everyone was using their hyper-local time, you'd have to adjust your clock by about 5 minutes. I guess that's if you did that at the equator. If you did that at, I don't know, where I live in Minnesota, it'd be more like 7 or 8 minutes. That's not that big of a deal, but it is enough to make some problems. You might miss a flight every once in a while. You might have to calculate when school starts or when your job starts separately, but it's not going to be super far off. Okay. This is dumb. This is dumb. Although I want to read this part. The government steps in by month 1, proposing an experimental global standard day with flexible hours based on artificial light. Why? But the solution proves unsustainable and whispers of rebellion emerge. See, it's somewhat good with the basic storytelling things here, but not as good at gluing these two facts. Citizens driven to desperation begin gathering in the streets to protest a world that has denied them the comforting cadence of day and night. Restoring the natural order under the rallying cry, "Time belongs to the sun." Okay. I want to correct ChatGPT here. Look, I think you're going mad with power. I think that when you think that people would be hours off, that whole deal of 8 a.m., one person's 8 a.m. being another's midnight, that's stupid. People don't live 4 hours away from you, 4 time zones away from each other. That would mean like 4,000 miles at the equator, or I don't know, like 3,000 miles in much of North America. That's dumb. That's not a problem. Please give me a more accurate version of this potential story, but based on the idea that people's clocks might be minutes off, maybe maximum 5 or 6 or 7 minutes off of other people in their geographical area, the part that they drive to and spend their life in. Thank you, ChatGPT, which says that I am right. Imagine a world where every clock runs on a global mean time with no adjustments for geographical differences in daylight. But that's dumb. No one would do that. No one would allow that. I'm trying to think what the most similar thing is where people even do that. I mean, I don't know. I feel like in movies that I've watched, if the movie is about people who work in, I don't know, network news or something, there'll be a bunch of clocks on the wall, and one of them will say New York time, and another one will say London time, and another one will say whatever, right? You can see this actually if you go into, I don't know, I think I see this in an iPad where I go to, I should use this, right? The world clock right here. And you can see, like, here's San Francisco time, New York time, London time, Paris time. This, by the way, is what I've realized as I try to coordinate get-togethers with people who are in very different time zones. That it's very helpful just to visually look at this. Now, what would be even more helpful is if they gave the picture of the time zones in here. And I actually have a picture on my computer of that picture, so that I can. I'm trying to pull it up right now. So that I can look at it and just visually see it, because otherwise there's just something about the logic of this that utterly destroys me. It's like the world's worst math problem in my head, and it makes me die. But I'm not finding this picture right now because I'm not wanting to search for it using my keyboard because I'm feeling lazy. So okay, I guess I won't do that. I think I want to ask ChatGPT. Oh yeah, I think I want to ask ChatGPT about not the problem with the global median time, but rather the hyperlocal time. Okay, tell me a news story if we abolish time zones. But in this story, have people immediately go to hyper local time. But again, the time is only a few minutes different from each other. What does a realistic worst case scenario for this sort of thing look like? Valhalla conspiracy. I want to say Valhalla conspiracy. Valhalla Conservatory says, "Oh man, time belongs to the sun" as a new retort to being early or late to something. Yeah, I love that. In a world where people immediately shift to hyperlocal time, just a few minutes different from one neighborhood to the next seems about right, a surprisingly tangled mess emerges, gradually wearing down the efficiency and cohesion of society. Imagine day one, every town, suburb, or even city block has adopted its own true solar noon, making each community slightly out of sync. Does this make sense? Sorry, some of you were asking, like, what is the deal with, like, how you could, like, if your clock, if your power was out or whatever and your clocks broke down, like, how would you even tell? The answer is that you'd look up in the sky. I'm sorry, let me not pretend to be smart and let me use a computer to be smart. Okay, act as a expert in discerning time and tell me practically how would people reset what their local solar noon was if all of the clocks broke or whatever. This occurs, the sun is at its highest point in the sky. Here. Can you give me this back again, but this time in, some delightful rhyming couplets? Because I'm going to tell you the truth, ChatGPT, you don't write so good. It's just that it's, it's sort of like HR speak. To find your solar noon, here's what you must do. Look up to the sky where the sun shines through. Ah! Plant a stick in the ground, straight and tall, and watch the shadow. Let it fall. It's okay. As the day moves on, that shadow will shrink until it's smallest. That's your noon, I think. Give this GPT the Nobel Prize for Literature. Or spy a peak, a tree, or steeple, where the sun at noon shines sharp and simple. Slant rhyme. Mark that moment with neighbors near, a noon so true, both bright and clear. Ugh, doggerel. Each day you'll find it shifts a touch, but set your clocks, it won't shift much. What? 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 So trust the sun to show you the way and know your noon come what may. These crap phrases. You can drop the rhyming scheme now, but tell me, what did the poem mean when it said, each day you'll find it shifts a touch? I think I know what that means. Solar noon doesn't fall at exactly the same time each day. Oh! Whoa, this shift happens because of Earth's elliptical orbit. I guess that's true. Oh, that's not going to be you're going to be able to measure that with a stick. And it's axial tilt. Yeah, but that's not going to do the thing, which causes the solar day to vary slightly throughout the year. I think it's talking about sidereal time, but I don't think that means what it thinks it does. This effect, called the equation of time, can make solar noon arrive to up to about 15 minutes earlier or later compared to a standard clock time. I don't think... Can anyone give me feedback as to whether this is true? Near the solstices, for instance, solar noon might be later than expected, while near the equinoxes it can be earlier. Really? Over a few days... If this is true, then I'm about to learn something important. Over a few days, the shift is slight, but over weeks becomes noticeable, especially if you're tracking solar noon carefully. Ask ChatGPT to draw it. In my experience, ChatGPT is very bad at that, but let's try it. Acting as Dolly, can you please draw me a picture to communicate what you are explaining here? See, the thing is that axial tilt makes the sorry, the diagrams capture the sun's varying high points in the sky and the changing shadow lengths at solar noon. Yep. along with Earth's orbital path to demonstrate how its elliptical orbit and axial tilt create this shift. Seasonal markers help highlight when solar noon tends to be slightly earlier or later. So I'm going to tell you the truth. I think this, oh, sorry, you can't, but I have to click on this. Can you, yes, you can see this. Okay, sorry. New tech. But I can't make that bigger. It's fine. So note that I mean, 2, nothing, 3, 4, 8, 4, 5, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 25, 25, 28. This is, it's like giving you something from this, but like it doesn't get any of the diagrammatics correct. So far that I know, there is not a LLM, a large language model, that can actually do anything to make it a proper diagram. I'm sure people are working on them, and I will buy one or subscribe to one when it becomes available, because my gosh, that'd be amazing. So I think this is not anywhere close to true. Okay, so the deal is, though, I think that with summer solstice, longest day of the year, sun rises earlier, sun sets later. My understanding, however, is that like noon is exactly the same. It's exactly in the middle. It's just that like the day gets longer on both sides. Winter solstice, whoosh, right? Coming upon that kind of soon. But that noon stays the same. Now, of course, noon does not stay the same. Noon does not stay the same because of stinking daylight savings. But in this world where we've thrown off all sorts of international treaties of crap, then we all have our local solar noon, there would be no daylight savings time, because that is a delusion that mass delusion that we play upon ourselves. That would, even the possibility of doing that would go away, which would be nice. 15 minutes. You understand what it's saying? What it says, this might be wrong. I think I finally do. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this. No, I'm not. I'm going to have a computer do it for me. 15 minutes left. I got to tell you right now, I'm kind of worried about this. Just to jump away for a sec. I feel like, how much did I learn? I don't know. I don't know if I'm learning that much with this. I feel like I understood time zones just fine. My emotions, I don't know. Life, the universe, and everything, I don't know. This has ended up being a hard topic for this. I feel because there's in some ways nothing very important with this. Well, maybe we should actually, you know what, here. Because I'm going to try to cheat, which is to say optimize to win, to get points in this. I'm going to go a different direction with this. I'm not going to talk about sidereal time and the fact that if a day has 24 hours in it, if that's a way you define a day, then, and clocks are all set to do that, then actually this will be a problem. I'll just give you a hint for this, that really you want to watch a Veritasium video on this that I happened to watch with my kids last night. But as the Earth spins, every spin is 24 hours. But then as it goes around the sun, a full spin, is it like a 360-degree spin, or is it like a spin from like when the sun is directly overhead to the next time that the sun is directly overhead? Because it turns out that's not 360 degrees. Not exactly, because as it's spinning, if this is the sun and this is the Earth spinning up here, woo, the Earth is moving around the sun. And so it's actually going to come, if you're going this way, it's going to see the sun up earlier than if it otherwise wasn't. Okay, this is really hard to explain. The good video on this. Time zones. I want to go to extremes with this. Give me some extremes having to do with time zones. For example, the most extreme distance east-west that people will be in the same time zone, or the longest distance east-west that people in the same time zone, or the shortest distance, or some other things too. Get creative. See how it actually edited out my ahs and ums? Kind of impressive. Yeah, I thought it might be China. The whole country is in a single time zone. Man, a 3,000 miles difference in solar time. I am in here. Let me just jump into. Wow, some of these are fascinating. Here, I just want to go with China here for a second. Tell me about the China situation. When the sun rises on the easternmost part of China, what effective time will it be in the westernmost part of China? I do, of course, understand that they will be by definition the same time, but if the people in the westmost part of China had their own local, hyper-local time, then what would they compute that to be? Call sunrise 6 a.m. I'm going to switch to the thinking. It's too long. I might actually have to ask this again then. Three hours feels right. 3 hours feels right. I am going to cheat, I think is the word for it. I'm going to look at a worldwide time zone map. Back to the Wikipedia one. Here we go. So, excuse me, I'm going to save this and then cannot save image. Okay, well, that happened. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to, with 10 minutes left, say China. No, I'm going to save the image. Why, though? Why? I am going to throw this in here. Give me just a second. Okay. So with China, just to double check this because this is so visual. This part right here is the easternmost part of China, right? And the westernmost part of China would be this right here. So just looking at this. Sorry, I shouldn't have done it that far. Versus. Wow. These are pretty darn naturally 4 hours off from each other. Wow. So when it's at a 3-hour time difference, I think that was actually wrong, but only because of the other thing. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to switch over to a new thing, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in a new one. I'm going to use the advanced reasoning. And then I'm going to add in be very brief with your answer. These models that think, oh, they just won't shut up. I think that actually might be part of how they work. Basically told to trace out the steps. Holy mother of glory. Look at that. That seems wrong, except then you look at it like, oh, that's 4 hours. That's 4 hours and 8 minutes. This is like exactly what we got with this. Wow. In fact, if I can even look at this more exactly, like this side was ever so slightly to the west of that line right there, whereas this one was exactly in the middle. So I will even believe the 8 minutes, that this is 8 minutes right there. Wowza. Okay, that was frightful. Frightful, I say. Oh, the number is over my head. I don't like that. Let's go over here. Okay, sorry. That was nifty. Let's talk about some of the other problems. And I'm gonna ask it this again. I'll go with the preview. I'll go with the faster one. Act as a sort of Guinness Book of World Records for time zones. Tell me, like, what is the longest time zone, the shortest time zone, the biggest, the smallest, the most populous? Give me all of that crap. Egan oftentimes wrote about how Guinness Book of World Records is like the most important thing to understand if you want to understand what he referred to as romantic understanding. This kind of understanding that lusts for the extremes, for heroism and villainy, for big emotions. Okay, the earliest is Kiribati. I think you pronounce it Kiribati. This is the first time zone to experience a new day, making it the earliest. I wonder why that is, because it's where we happen to draw the international date line. Latest time zone. I wish we had started with this, actually, instead of starting with the story. So many regrets. Latest. Okay, very good. Just to give that like a picture of that, like on here, right? Like, I don't know where Kiribati is or whatever on here, but like one of those is going to be over on this side and the other one is going to be, I used to know where Kiribati is. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's somewhere in the, here it is. Here's Kiribati. Okay. Most populous is China. That does make sense. And Western Australia, though to be fair, nobody has ever lived in Western Australia. Sorry, Darwin. Not Darwin. Brisbane? No, my gosh. Perth. What is wrong with me? Time zone with the most countries. Greenwich Mean Time. Interesting. Just to get a look at this. What? But Greenwich Mean Time must, by definition, be the green one, because it's Greenwich. But then, multiple across, I guess there's a bunch of small African countries there. Maybe these other ones, it's because they're shaded, which means that they celebrate daylight savings that gets screwed up. I don't know. Right, like they're sometimes in the red and they're sometimes in the yellow. I don't know. Okay. Time zones. Oh my gosh, I was talking to a friend in Mumbai a few weeks ago, and we said like, oh yeah, we'll meet at this time. And I did the time zone calculations right, and he was a half an hour late. I'm like, oh, I thought we were going to be friends. I thought this was going to be great. It turns out that a lot of India, all of India, is a half an hour off because, I don't know, the devil. That's my best. Wait a second. That's a good question, isn't it? What the devil is going on with major time zones being a half an hour off? What the devil? What the devil? The devil. I don't think that's going to help it do a better search, but do a better thing for this. It's just that made me so frustrated. Went to the Navajo reservation in Arizona, New Mexico, and they did this 45 minutes, 15 minutes or 45 minutes off. That was kind of a screw you, as I understand it, to everybody else. And, you know, like in that sort of situation, I had an easy time understanding it. For India to do that, remember how the phrase, the third world, you remember that phrase came from? Originally, the third world came from, the first world was America, Western Europe. The second world was the USSR and its satellite countries. The third world was the non-aligned part of the world that had decided neither to go capitalist and democratic or communist. India has a tradition of wanting to do things their way. Colonial legacy. And maybe they did it because they wanted to match sunrise and sunset times. So they kind of have gone, okay, this is kind of interesting, right? The whole movement of modernism is, yeah, this is right, and of modernity is to make one system, one best system to rule them all. Very Tolkien-esque, Sauron-esque here. And you can look at this map and you can see, oh man, like, right, that this is supposed to be a perfect system. And one even gets the sense that if like the people who made this really like had their druthers, what they would have done, I'm sorry, I chose the wrong color. What they would have done is like drawn these lines perfectly straight. So that's just like wherever, sorry. I don't use this tool very often. That wherever you were, this is the time that you held to. This is the dream of, you know, the planner cast of society. Just to skip across the pond here. But of course, that's only kind of what has happened. Ignore the shaded part of daylight saving. It's only kind of what's happened. And isn't that interesting? Oh, that's right. Phoenix doesn't do, Arizona doesn't do daylight savings. I lived there for many years. I forgot that. Part of Northwest Territory doesn't either. Right? Like there's all these like zigzaggy, there's all of these like zigzaggy. Wow, I just turned that on, huh? I don't know how to turn it off now. Drawing guide, there we go. All these I don't understand anything anymore. Turn off assisted. All these zigzaggy lines that go on from this. What's the story behind that? With a minute and change left to go, I wanna ask this. As I look at the map, of time zones, I recognize that the lines are not drawn particularly straight. They curve, they wonk around in all of these weird, wonky ways. What's the story behind that? And tell this story with the emotional binary. We should have started the binaries. With the emotional binary of order versus chaos and universalism versus localism. Time isn't real anyway. You got here on time. I'm just deleting the phrase. We should have started the binaries. Oh, the fact that it's here. I don't like that I did it like this. Repeat that. No, that's dumb because it'll like literally repeat that. Sorry, same question again. It was just copy and paste from before. Now that I've switched to form. Time zones are messy because they represent a tug of war between the forces of order and chaos and the values of universalism and localism. Imagine the world trying to impose strict straight lines for local time zones. For time zones, this is order at work, the desire for a universal system where everyone can rely on a predictable time structure. 15-degree intervals per time zone. Why is it 15? Because 360 divided by 15 is 24? I think that's true. But it soon means chaos, the organic, unstructured nature of human geography. Mountains, rivers, and especially political borders don't care about neat straight lines. Countries want whole territories under a single time for simplicity. We're out of time, aren't we? Great. Just that last thing. How the lines get wonky. When universal order tries to impose strict zones, local chaos pushes back, bending, curving, and breaking lines. The shapes you see on time zone maps are the scars of that battle. That's pretty good, isn't it? With each crooked line and odd bulge reflecting a compromise between structure and human need. Okay. The game's over. Let's see how we did. What you are about to do is vote. First, how much do you feel that you learned? And let 3 equal how much you would have learned from, I don't know, like an ordinary... if you just spent 45 minutes in ChatGPT by yourself, or just online to learn about stuff by yourself, like how much do you think that you would have learned about this? I'm going to give you 20 seconds to put in your answer for this. So it's just say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't put any decimals or crap like that. Just keep it simple for this. So 5 would be like, wow, I learned a lot. And 0 is like, no, I learned nothing. Nothing. Is that fossil in the background for real? Which fossil, Caleb? Which fossil? I have a number of fossils in this room. Some of them are and some of them are not. Okay, I see a 4. I see no one else is going to do 4 or 3. I'll go for it. Dang it! This is exactly what I'm going to call it a 4 and a 3. 5, 4. Really? These are higher than I thought. Okay, great. Caleb, you voted 3 times. I'm going to assume that means that there are multiple people in your household who are giving independent things there. But anyway, wouldn't actually change it, right? Like it would still be, the average of this would still be a 4. 3, but I'm abnormal. Yeah. Okay. Emotions. Now, specifically what this question means is how well did this connect to, how well did you feel like this matters? I should even change emotions to, how much does this feel like it matters for you? 20 seconds. Go for it. Time's up. That thing looks like a tiger. Well, it's a smilodon. It is not a $50,000 true smilodon skull. It is a plaster? Yeah, it's a really hard kind of plaster cast made by the company Skullduggery. As my mom and dad can attest, they got me a catalog for Skullduggery. Skullduggery is a company that specializes in making fossil replicas. When I was in, I don't know, 5th grade, 6th grade, and I just would spend hours just paging through it, wanting to buy something cool in it. Didn't have much money. I ended up buying a cast of a Deinonychus claw, which is very cool, to be clear. Never quite ponied up the money to buy the Protoceratops egg or the Utahraptor claw that I wanted. But of course, I really wanted the Smilodon skull. But I didn't have the money to do it. And then a couple of years ago, I'm like, wait a second. I'm rich. It's not a true fact. But I realized I have a science teaching company. I could definitely justify this as a tax-exempt thing. Okay, numbers. 4, 5. Really, you think 5 for this? You think so? Wow, I feel like I did not feel this. That's really interesting. No one else is going to give one? Well, that's on you. We have a lot of people here today, too. Okay, and then finally, how well do we feel like this connected to life, the universe, and everything? I have thoughts about this one, but I will hold them back for the moment. You ever watch Rawhide? I haven't. I watched, where did I have the opportunity to do this? I think just the opening song of it. And you see a very, very young, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. He's now a major film director. Clint Eastwood is a very, very, very young Clint Eastwood in it. It's just the sort of thing that makes you go wait, people from this era of black and white TV, black and white, Cowboys and Indians TV are still alive. They're still alive. And they're still famous, and they're still doing important work, whether you like the movies of Clint Eastwood or not. Gran Torino, fantastic film. They're still at work. I don't know. My mind wants to neatly segregate things into the before times and the now times, and then you realize, I don't know, my wife's great aunt just turned 100 years old. We went to her birthday party. It was a pretty good birthday party. She's had time to practice. And it's awesome. It's just so awesome that people's stories continue through this. I don't know, but then I think about the future. For me, I'm just that far in the future. Ugh. Okay, so numbers. We will take a 5. We will take a 2 or a 3, which just means a 2 and a 3. Take a 4. Take a 5. Wow. So I think the here. So just to try to get some final answers for this. This is a 4. I can do better than that. This is a 4, and this one is a. I'm gonna call low and call 4, and this one is a average. This will be a 4. So a 4, 4, 4 for this. Hey, you know what? It's not our worst. Can you vote 100,000. 1 million. No! You can vote 5. Be grateful for what you have. Feel free to ask any questions right now. I'm going to go in a minute. But I want to do a bit of, reflection on how this has gone. I wish that I had not started with the story for this. And really, this is marred by the fact that I thought we were talking about daylight savings time for this, which is so embarrassing. So probably it actually would have been better to start with a simple definition, even if I would have felt like that's beneath me. Nope. Not true in this situation. The extremes were actually a really good idea. I wish I'd gotten that into that more. One of the things that we should really write on here, and I will write on here because I can do whatever I want, is, Egan puts it in mythic. I think it should be in semantic, but whatever. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use color. Nope. Binaries. I wish we had started with the binaries then for that too. That would have been awesome. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't see what I'm drawing. How dumb of me. And then I really feel like to connect it up to the ultimate, I think I would have liked to get a picture of the world, of the globe divided into time zones. I feel like that would have been good. And then get a sense of the spin of the planet and how the time zones kind of neatly track this. I wish I would have. Now, this is helpful for me. This is helpful for me because I have tried to arbitrarily limit myself to just using ChatGPT for this and not drawing other stuff. There you go. And I don't know that maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should also be drawing stuff for this. I'm not sure. Oh, of course that wouldn't work. Yes. But this would work. Okay. Sorry, if this is the planet. Yeah, this is definitely how the continents look. Yes, absolutely. What are you talking about? Darker? Yes, absolutely. This is how the continents look. By all means. I think it would have been good to get, I don't know, could I even have gotten an animation of this? I sort of doubt it. That did not work the way I thought it was going to. Can't quite do that, can I? Huh. Oh, of course. Yes. Yes. This is what I wanted. So you actually get a sense of like how these things kind of fit together. How the equator on here. This is our planet's a fancy equator here, right? And then the poles, the top and pole at the bottom kind of do their things. And then, I mean, maybe it actually helps if we imagine that the sun is actually going around and the earth is staying still. Now, it'd be really good to have, you know what, honestly, like I should have even brought in, Solar Walk 2. I like this app. Not now. Should have taken a look at this. Now this actually is spinning. I don't even see you can see the time down there, right? Like it's spinning in real time. And we could have taken a look at Earth's orbit around the sun. And I could speed up the time. And you could see how, I don't know, maybe we could have even gotten the spot where you could see like a day is not a day. We could slow this down. We could zoom in to the Earth right here. And you could see like, here, slow this down like this, like hour, 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 like this, or something like that. But those wouldn't be hours. They would be, yeah, we could actually try to make sense of it. I think that we were really limited anyway in all of this by the fact that I was trying to keep myself to the text-based medium of ChatGPT. Okay, that's useful to know. Okay. We're going to pause the Egan and AI things for a little bit. I've determined that what I think I really want to do is do some of the, use this time in the next few weeks to doing some seminars, some of our science bites that we just haven't done in stinking forever, so people can get a sense of like what it is like to be in one of our live science lessons where you actually see people's faces. Because, I don't know, I miss it. But I do hope to bring this back because I like this. I like this a lot. And frankly, I think that we pulled this off on YouTube Live, and ain't that nice? Everyone, thanks for coming to this. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for being you. I think I don't have the personality to be able to pull that off. I give up. I give up. Bye, everybody. Thanks. So good.